right, I'll just wait till 9 o'clock before we get started today. All right, so it's 9 o'clock, so I guess I'll get started here. We had one person check in briefly, so hopefully they'll pop back in a little bit. Um, Hello, my name is Jane. I go by pronouns she and her, and I am a third year student studying psychology at the University of Ottawa. Let me just make sure all's good. Sorry, and I'm using a bit of a different camera setup today. I'm on my laptop, so I'll try not to touch the keyboard because you get this kind of spooky view of my fingers whenever I do. But that's why the setup's a little bit different today. Okay. So hello, thank you for joining today. Yeah, so before we get started, I'd invite anyone who's comfortable to introduce themselves in the comments, so I can sort of get to meet you, even if I, meet you, even if I can't see you. And yeah, so like I said, my name's Jane. I go by pronouns she and her, and I'm a third year student at the University of Ottawa. I study psychology there. And yeah, I'm also a huge reading fan, a huge bookworm. So I'm very excited to do this live stream today because it means I get to read and share that with all of you. Yeah, so I find during the school year, especially, I've noticed that I still love reading, obviously, but I found that, whoops, sorry. There we go. Okay, I think we're good. But I have found that when schoolwork gets so crazy and busy, I'm doing more academic reading and I have sort of less time and energy for reading on my own. At the end of the day, I tend to want to watch Netflix instead of pick up a book or just go to sleep. So during the pandemic, one sort of silver lining, if you will, of being home all the time was I have more time to get to all the books that I wanted to read. And so I sort of thought, well, this year I should really make an effort to read for fun more, not just for school. So I joined a book club. I don't know if any of you are in book clubs, but it's been really fun, partly because I get recommendations and I read books that I wouldn't pick up on my own. So for this last month, we read Coraline, which I really enjoyed, even though, it's sort of like a spooky book, and I normally don't pick up spooky books. So that was fun. And yeah, and then I guess another means of still reading for fun is with you here today. So thank you. Thanks for joining me. Yeah, if yeah, it looks like maybe people aren't turning out yet. So I was going to offer maybe people could tell me if they have a favorite book, a favorite author, favorite genre in the comments, but maybe not yet. So if you're watching this after the fact, feel free to comment on the video because I'm definitely looking for what people are interested in, what people would like to hear from me. So that would be great. Oh, we have someone who joined. Hello, thanks for joining. So yeah, our options for today will be either I can do a poetry reading. I have sort of a collection of different types of poems that are, they're all sort of autumn themed, but they're all in like different styles, different types of poetry, different poets. Or I could read from this version of Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. So I actually started reading this book at an earlier live stream a while ago. Well, 2 weeks ago now. So I could, depending on what people want, I could give a bit of a recap of where we are. It's not the full version of Pride and Prejudice, it's an abridged version. So, um, I love the full version, but as anyone who has read it knows, the sort of nuanced social details tend to drag out a little bit. So this is a bit quicker, and that also means that it's sort of better suited for a stream like this because we can actually make progress and get through it more easily. So yeah, those are our options for today. I would put it to a vote, but yeah, since our turnout's not amazing, I don't know, does our viewer so far have a preference if we do Pride and Prejudice or poetry? If not, that's totally fine. I'll just, I'll get started with one. I'll give it a minute. I'll play a bit with my settings here. Okay. All right, so if we don't have comments, then I will probably go ahead. Good morning, Natalie. Thank you so much for joining today. Do you have a preference in what you'd like to hear this morning? Do I have for poetry? Oh, yes. So, as I said just a few minutes ago, I have sort of a collection of autumn themed poetry. So it's a mix of different poets, a mix of different styles, but they're all sort of with an autumn fall theme. So that's an option as well, for sure. Yeah. Good morning. I notice a few more people are joining. Thanks for joining today. I'm just saying for our read aloud this morning, we have an option between a shortened and abridged version of Pride and Prejudice, which gets some points, or poetry. We have one vote for poetry, so I'll go with that for now to get us going this morning. And if people have any suggestions for next time, what they'd like to hear in the future, let me know, and I'll definitely take that into account. I'm always looking to read new things as well. Okay. So, the first poem I have is, I don't want the paper to be in front of the camera. There we go. Beyond the Red River by Thomas McGrath. The birds have flown their summer skies to the south, and the flower money is drying in the banks of bent grass, which the bumblebee has abandoned. We wait for a winter lion, body of ice crystals and sombrero of dead leaves. A month ago, from the salt engines of the sea, a machinery of early storms rolled towards the holiday houses, where summer still dozed in the poolside chairs, sipping an aging whiskey of distances and departures. Now the long freight of autumn goes smoking out of the land. My possibilities are all packed up, but still I do not leave. I am happy enough here, where Dakota drifts wild in the universe, where the prairie is starting to shake in the surf of the winter dark. All right, that was our first one. And just for reference, anyone can feel free to jump in and let me know if you can't hear me properly, or if I'm talking too fast or too slow. My tendency tends to be too fast, but maybe I'll overcompensate or something and I'll go too slow. So feel free to let me know. Yeah. Our next one is The Beautiful Changes by Richard Wilbur. One waiting a fall meadow finds on all sides the Queen Anne's lace lying like lilies on water it glides. So from the walker it turns, dry grass to a lake, as the slightest shade of you valleys my mind in fabulous blue lucernes. The beautiful changes as a forest is changed by a chameleon's turning his skin to it, as a mantis arranged on a green leaf grows into it, makes the leaf leafier and proves any greenness is deeper than anyone knows. Your hands hold roses always in a way that says they are not only yours. The beautiful changes in such kind ways, wishing ever to sunder things and things selves for a second finding to lose, for a moment that it all touches back to wonder. Oh, thank you, Natalie. So this next one is a favorite of mine. Good morning. Thanks so much for joining today. It's great to have you on. The next poem I'll be reading is, maybe this one is slightly less strictly autumn themed, other than mentioning a yellow wood, but it's a favorite of mine, so I added it to the list. It's called The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost. Some of you may know it already. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood. In Surrey I could not travel both and be one traveler. Long I stood and looked down one as far as I could to where it bent in the undergrowth. Then took the other, just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear. Though as for that the passing there had worn them really about the same. And both that morning equally lay, in leaves no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day, yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages hence. Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and it has made all the difference. Love Robert Frost. Good. I'm glad I have another Robert Frost fan in the group. Thank you all for joining. I see a few more people are coming on. Good morning. Thanks for being here. We're reading some poetry this morning. That's what was settled on. This next one is called For the Chipmunk in My Yard. And it is by Robert Gibb. I think he knows I'm alive, having come down the 3 steps of the back porch and given me a good once-over. All afternoon he's been moving back and forth, gathering odd bits of walnut shells and twigs, while all about him the great fields tumble to the blades of the thresher. He's lucky to be where he is, wild with all that happens. He's lucky he's not one of the shadows living in the blonde heart of the wheat. This autumn, when trees bolt, dark with the fires of starlight, he'll curl among their roots, wanting nothing but the slow burn of matter on which he fastens like a small brown flame. I don't know if any of you have chipmunks in your yard. We had quite a few in ours earlier this year, but I have a dog, for those of you who don't know, named Harry, and he's part Schnauzer, so it's a big mouser. And so fortunately, he hasn't caught one yet, because I would not know what to do if that happened. But yeah, they've been keeping their distance recently, just in case. Which is too bad, because this is a bit of an unpopular opinion, but I think chipmunks are quite cute little guys. All right. This next one is sort of a fun fall one. It's called When the Frost is on the Pumpkin, but I looked it up because I did not know what a pumpkin was, and turns out it's just another way of pronouncing pumpkin. So I'll be pronouncing it pumpkin just because I think that's a bit clearer, but you know, for authenticity's sake, that it's pumpkin in the poem. Natalie says we have quite a few chipmunks as well, and tons of squirrels. Yeah, squirrels are an issue. Apparently, the dog does not keep those away. We still have plenty. And they're pretty confident little guys too. Like, they'll come right up. Um, they are adorable. We feed them sunflowers. Oh, and have tons of acorns. Oh, that's a good idea. Sunflower seeds? Or do you have actual sunflowers? That's lovely. Oh, might need to check that out. Bring them back after the dog scared them away. All right, so yeah, When the Frost is on the Pumpkin, as I'll be reading it. And this poem is by James Whitcomb Riley. When the frost is on the pumpkin and the fodder's in the shock, and you hear the yock and gobble of the strutting turkey cock, and the clacking of the guineas, and the clucking of the hens, and the rooster's holly ewer as he tiptoes on the fence. Oh, it's then times a feller is a feeling at his best, with the rising sun to greet him from a night of peaceful rest. As he leaves the house bareheaded and goes out to feed the stock, when the frost is on the pumpkin and the fodder's in the shock. There's something kind of hearty-like about the atmosphere, and the heat of summer's over and the cooling fall is here. Of course we miss the flowers and the blossoms on the trees, and the mumble of the hummingbirds and buzzing of the bees. But the air is so appetizing, and the landscape through the haze of a crisp and sunny morning of the early autumn days is a picture that no painter has the coloring to mock, when the frost is on the pumpkin and the fodder's in the shock. Although we did have a painting workshop on Monday, and she might have had the coloring to mock, as you would say. There was a beautiful sunrise painted on Monday's live stream, so I'd be sure to check those out again for those of you joining us. The husky, rusty rustle of the tossels of the corn, and the rasping of the tangled leaves as golden as the morn, the stubble and the furries, kind of lonesome like, but still, a preaching sermons to us in the barns they growed to fill. The straw stack in the medder, and the reaper in the shed, the horses in their stalls below, the clover overhead. Oh, it sets my heart a-clicking like the ticking of a clock when the frost is on the pumpkin and the fodder's in the shock. Good morning. Thanks so much for joining us. And yes, seeds and sunflowers. Nice. Natalie. Yeah, we were just talking about whether we like chipmunks in our yard, whether we don't. And Natalie has some tips for feeding them, which I'm going to check out for sure. Then your apples all is gathered, and the ones a fellow keeps is poured around the cellar floor in red and yellow heaps, and your cider making's over, and your women folks is through with their mince and apple butter, and their sauce and sausage too. I would like to correct that line though. In our family, my dad is the cook, and anyways, just had to comment on the gender roles there. I think this is an older poem. I don't know how to tell it, but if such a thing could be, as the angels wanted boarding and they'd call around to me, I'd want to accommodate 'em, the whole enduring flock, when the frost is on the pumpkin and the fodder's in the shock. Right. This next one is called Beginning. It's by James Wright. The moon drops one or two feathers into the field. The dark wheat listens. Be still now. There they are, the moon's young, trying their wings. Between trees, a slender woman lifts up the lovely shadow of her face, and now she steps into the air. Now she is gone, wholly into the air. I stand alone by an elder tree. I do not dare breathe or move. I listen. The wheat leans back toward its own darkness, and I lean toward mine. Hope is the Thing with Feathers by Emily Dickinson. Hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without the words and never stops at all. And the sweetest in the gale is heard, and sore must be the storm that could abash the little bird that kept so many warm. I've heard it in the chillest land and on the strangest sea, yet never, in extremity, it asked a crumb of me. Hope everyone's doing well there. Hope you're all maybe curled up with something warm to drink. Got my coffee here. I'll take a sip. And we'll keep going. For those who joined more recently, we're reading autumn-themed poems this morning. That's what's going on. So our next one, very clear title, is called To Autumn, and it's by John Keats. Another sort of more famous one. A bit of the language in this one is a little old-timey, not in a bad way, just if I stumble through it a bit, it's because some of the pronunciation is a little funny. Season of mists and mellow fruitfulness, close bosom friend of the maturing sun, conspiring with him how to load and bless with fruit the vines that round the thatch eaves run, to bend with apples the mossed cottage trees, and fill all fruit with ripeness to the core, to swell the gourd and plump the hazel shells with a sweet kernel, to set budding more and still more later flowers for the bees, until they think warm days will never cease, for summer has overbrimmed their clammy cells. Who hath not seen thee oft amid thy store? That's what I was talking about by old-timey language. We got through it. Sometimes whoever seeks abroad may find thee sitting careless on a greenery floor, thy hair soft lifted by the winnowing wind, or on a half-reaped furrow sound asleep, drowsed with the fume of poppies, while thy hook spares the last swath and all its twinned flowers. And sometimes, like a gleaner, thou dost keep steady thy laden head across a brook, or by a cider press, with patient look, thou watchest the last oozings hours by hours. Where are the songs of spring? Where are they? Think not of them, thou hast thy music too. While barred clouds bloom, to color with a soft warm tint or glow the soft dying day, and touch the stubble plains with rosy hue, then in a wailful choir the small gnats mourn among the river sallows, borne aloft or sinking as the light wind lives or dies, and full-grown lambs bleat from hilly bourne, hedge crickets sing, and now with treble soft the redbreast whistles from a garden croft, and gathering swallows twitter in the skies. If you can hear a bit of noise, my dog Harry is moving around at my feet. He's little, so you can't see him in the frame, but he's pattering around here. So any funny noises are coming from him. Oh my gosh, I have to mention, on a couple days ago, I was on a meeting on Google Meets, which is sort of like Zoom. I had my microphone on, and my dog's he's a talker. He doesn't just bark, he makes all kinds of weird noises. And he came in, he just had a walk, and he sometimes does this thing when he's really excited where he sort of like rolls around on his back, and he makes this very odd, like it almost sounds like a stomach gurgling, groaning sound. So it was quite awkward on the call because everyone kind of stopped, especially because he's so little and he doesn't show in the frame. So it just makes me look weird. Anyways, I'll get back to poems. This next one is called An Autumn Blooming Rose, and it's by Alfred Austin. I found and plucked an autumn blooming rose, and shut my eyes and scented all its savor. When, as the month the blackthorn blows, that's a tongue twister, lambs began to bleat and merlin lark to quaver. Flower of my life, inestimably dear, now that its calendar wanes sere and sober, to me your freshness, turning back the year, makes that seem April others call October. With me 'tis autumn, and with you 'tis spring, but love hath brought these seasons sweet together. It's a bit of old-timey language there. Within your leafy life I sit and sing, and you with me share wealth of harvest weather. Thus all things we exchange, and nothing lose. Take your life's wisdom, lead me to life's sweetness. Your vernal voice shall whet my mellow muse, and song give youth, and youth give song completeness. Autumn Morning. In parentheses, it's autumn again. And this is a poem by Agatha Eliza Loposy. A blurry morning breaks in my heart, like a shy sun over a battlefield, after a long absence of light, and a carpet of leaves lies at my feet. It's autumn again, he said to me, celebration of rust and copper, nature's majestic symphony, when colors invade the cosmos. The lonesome path towards the woods, inhabited by acorns and leaves, trees and stones all set in harmony. You see autumn again. Sorry, I have to get up for a sec. My dog is scratching at the door. One moment. Sorry for that brief interruption. All right. Next, I'll read Autumn Song by Katherine Mansfield. I hope this is going okay. Again, if you can't hear me quite right, or if I'm talking too fast or too slow, just shoot me a message in the comments and I will adjust accordingly. Thanks so much for listening. Autumn Song by Katherine Mansfield. Now's the time when children's noses all become as red as roses, and the color of their faces makes me think of orchard places where the juicy apples grow and tomatoes in a row. Come then, find your ball and racket, pop into your winter jacket with the lovely bearskin lining. While the sun is brightly shining, let us run and play together and just love the autumn weather. And now we have Autumn Fires by Robert Louis Stevenson. All the other gardens and all up the vale, from the autumn bonfires see the smoke trail. Pleasant summer over and all the summer flowers, the red fire blazes, the gray smoke towers. Sing a song of seasons, something bright in all, flowers in the summer, fires in the fall. Okay, this next one is called September by Joanne Kiger. I realize it is no longer September. It has not been for a while, but this was also just like a pretty poem, and the imagery is autumn themed. So I'll go ahead and read it. This one is also a little bit more abstract, I guess. I kind of wanted to have a range of styles since we had some more older classic ones and different types. So yeah, that's my little preface on that one. The grasses are light brown and the ocean comes in, long shimmering lines under the fleet from last night, which dozes now in the early morning. Here and there horses graze on somebody's acreage. Strangely, it was not my desire that bade me speak in church to be released, but memory of the way it used to be in careless play, when characters were promises then recognitions. The world of transformation is real, and not real, but trusting. Enough of these lessons? I mean didactic phrases to take you in and out of mysterious bonds. Well, I myself and not myself, in which power of survival I speak, is not made of houses. It is inner luxury of golden figures that breathe like mountains do, and whose skin is made dusky by stars. All right, so I have several more, but since we just have a couple minutes left, I kind of want to end on a fun one. So I will now be reading Toasting Marshmallows by Christine O'Connell George. I am a careful marshmallow toaster, a patient marshmallow roaster, turning my stick oh so slowly, taking my time, checking often. This is art, a time of serious reflection, as my pillowed confection slowly reaches golden perfection. My brother grabs him with grubby hands, shoves him on the stick, burns him to a crisp, cools him off, flicks soot, eats quick. I'm still turning my stick. He's already eaten 6. I like that one. I do love s'mores. I do also love camping, so maybe I associate s'mores with that, and that's why. Um, but a very fun s'mores trick that I should give. It's classic to just roast them on a stick. That's lots of fun too. But another sort of fun thing you can do if you have a campfire with like one of those metal grates on top is you can make your s'more sandwich, like your graham cracker, your chocolate, marshmallow, another graham cracker, and whatever else you want to put in there. I don't know. People like different things on their s'mores. And if you wrap that whole thing up in tin foil and place it on top of the grate, the whole thing kind of melts. So you get the melted chocolate too. The graham cracker becomes a little soft, and it's lovely. So that's my tip for today is try making s'mores that way as well. And it looks like this brought us right to 9:30. So that is s'mores. Yum. Yes. Love me some s'mores. So yeah, it's 9:30. Thank you so much for joining me today. Yeah, if you have any recommendations for what you would like me to read next, whether that is poetry or a short story or maybe another. Novels are a little bit more difficult because it's more like sequential, but let me know and I'll look into it. Next week, I won't be doing a read aloud, but I'll be doing a guided meditation. So feel free to tune in, same place, same time for that. And until then, though, every weekday morning at 9 o'clock, a different colleague of mine will be popping in here and leading all kinds of different activities. So be sure to check that out. I believe tomorrow is Brooke doing painting. So that should be really fun. So be sure to check that out. And I think that's all. Thanks so much for joining me. I had a lot of fun. And yeah, have a great weekend. And I'll see you soon. Bye.